and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma will to teach us how to live suffering and attempt bliss and end birth and death and quickly realize number.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto suchedoye olahudi samya samputoshe.
Namo sadanto suchedoye alahadi samya samputoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture. My name is Heng Shi. Welcome to our Sutra lecture today. It's October 26th. We are into Scorpio, and it is Saturday night, the 25th, back in California. We're going to be exploring the brand new teacher of Sudana, our pilgrim, our hero, in the ongoing saga of his pilgrimage to Buddhahood, called the Entering the Dharma Realm, the Gandavyuha, the roof, Ajepin, of the Avatamsaka Sutra. So that's what we're all about. Let's get started. This is an invocation request to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to draw near. Here we go. like to respectfully acknowledge the Kombumeri people, the Ugambi language region, as traditional custodians and storytellers of the land where the monastery is located. We pay respects to their elders past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nations people whose sovereignty was never ceded. 我们恭敬地承认与甘北语族的孔马里人是我们寺院所在地的传统叙事者和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从来没放弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。Bell sound wide resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众常传3000劫内，佛法扬万里国中，共生其法界和平，利益报贪恼厚德。Okay, there we go. All right. I have a picture of our grand teacher, Master Empty Cloud, here, Master Shuyin. He is 118 when this is taken. He is, I believe, Yunjushan. I think that's where Cloud Dwelling Mountain in Jiangxi province. Let's see here. Thank you. Okay. I would like to invite folks to please ask some questions if you would care to do so. We've got our team here to respond to those questions that you might ask and put them, what we do is we translate them and then run them up in both languages so that after doing the formal section of text, I can go out and check. And if I can offer any insights into the questions, I'm happy to do so. We have 74 people online at the moment, a few waiting to come in. Where from? Fremont, California. Let's see, where else here? Singapore, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Alameda, Heilongjiang, Montreal. Let's see, where else? From iPhone, wherever that is. Santa Clara, Bay Area, Taipei, good. Okay, we have some regular Taiwanese listeners there. Elk Grove, Terry's listening online today. Oklahoma, Alameda, Oakland, California. Where else? Shanghai, Wesley's here, good. Willie and Virginia, where else? Malaysia, and then we switch over to this side of the world, and we have friends from amazing number of places in China. We should probably count the provinces. We haven't had anybody from Ningxia, as far as I know. And where else? Beijing, Harbin, Beijing, Guangzhou. See here, Tangshan, that's Hebei. Shenzhen, Liaoning, Sydney, Xini, Xi'an, where else? Anhui, Suzhou, Zhejiang, Lanhai, Fujian, Quanzhou, 还有, let's see, Hebei. Okay, good. We have friends here from, let's see now. Anhui, Baotou, that's from Inner Mongolia, Neimenggu. Beijing, Shenzhen, 还有, excuse me. All right. Let's see here. From Hebei, Huangshan, Huanggang. Okay, good. Guangzhou, Beijing, Yunnan, Kunming, Harbin, Xinjiang. All right. Zhuhai, Harbin, Heilongjiang, Shenzhou, Henan, and Suzhou. All right. Welcome everybody. 欢迎各位来参加. am blessed with a translation team that's putting my words into Mandarin and into Vietnamese as well. So if you would like to hear today's lecture in those languages, you have to go find the interpretation icon on your control panel, and there you can hear the language of your choice. Also, today there's a difference in the air. We have a big storm rolling in later on today. You can feel the wind has shifted a bit, so it's one of those uncertain moments. When it's storm time, the birds eat more. It's funny. There's the birds that come every day to my bird cafe get very demanding when there's a shift in the weather. It's like they know they might miss a meal or something, so they eat more and they're more aggressive in asking for food. So, yeah, you can feel it coming in. Okay, look at our text today. We are at a turning point. There's a new teacher. Our pilgrim has traveled. He said goodbye finally to his last teacher, and it cost him. He really felt it emotionally, spiritually. So it mentions how he bowed at his feet, circled him to the right, looked at him, praised, admired him, thought of him with affection, and shed a tear. And then, saying goodbye sparked all these thoughts in the mind of our pilgrim. He had all these reflections on that relationship between teacher and student, and he didn't want to leave. But that's the glue of our story. That's what holds our story together through 53 different episodes. Is each 52 times the teacher say, "No, that's it. Got to go. There's more to learn. I can't teach you everything you need. Got to go down the road. Go south." And they throw him out. They push him on. You could now, from a positive, you could say he graduates. He graduates from each different level, and they are satisfied that he has learned what they knew that worked for them to get free of birth and death. And so they want him to be fully, they want to step him along every single station of the Bodhisattva path, all the way to Buddhahood. So he's going for the mountaintop, and they want him to get there. So he's not going to stop at any of the base camps along the way. So he says goodbye and takes his leave. Okay, now we're going to read this whole section again. It's one entire paragraph, and then we're going to look into it and see what it's all about. Okay, I will give you a line, and if you'd like to, everybody is welcome, wherever you are looking, wherever you're watching, to recite after me. It's kind of neat to be able to hear the Avatamsaka Sutra coming out of your own voice. So I'll give you a line and you give it back. Here we go. 尔时，善财童子，一心正念，比长者教，观察比长者教。Let's do this the way the sentence breaks up. 意念比不思议，菩萨解脱门；思维比不思议，菩萨智光明；深入比不思议，法界门；去向比不思议，菩萨普入门；明见比不思议，如来身变；解了比不思议，普入佛刹；分别比不思议，佛力庄严；思维比不思议，菩萨三昧；解脱境界分位， OK， 了达，彼不思议，区别世界，究竟无碍，修行，彼不思议，菩萨坚固身心，发起，彼不思议，菩萨大愿敬业。All right, we did it all the way through to the end. Now, last week we got to this point, but I wanted to get the whole flow, and it occurred to me one way to make sense of this. So that's why we went back and did the whole thing. Okay, now for the English, we read in unison. And the way to make the unison work really well is to pay attention to the punctuation. The punctuation is there to give us instructions for where to breathe in order to make the meaning connect from the printed page, from the intention of the author, you could say, or the speaker, through the printed page to we, us, who are sitting here reciting after it. So when you see a comma, take a breath. When you see a period, take a breath. When you see white space, take a breath. Okay? That way, and also there's another trick to reciting in harmony, so it really sounds good, which is listen as carefully with your ears as you speak with your mouth. So listen to the folks around you, and then the sound is remarkably in harmony. And the Avatamsaka Sutra comes alive in English around the world. Here we go. So start at that time. Here we go. At that time, youth Sudana single-mindedly and properly recalled the teachings of the elder, and he contemplated his instructions. He recalled his inconceivable bodhisattva's gate of liberation. He pondered the inconceivable wisdom light of a bodhisattva. He profoundly entered the inconceivable gate to the Dharma realm. He approached the inconceivable gate of a bodhisattva's universal entry. He saw clearly those inconceivable spiritual transformations of thus come ones. He completely understood their inconceivable entry into Buddha kshetras. He distinguished the inconceivable adornment by the power of the Buddha. He contemplated those inconceivable samadhis and liberations, as well as their states and stages. He understood the inconceivable ultimate non-obstruction of worlds. He cultivated the inconceivable solid and profound mind of a bodhisattva. He brought forth the inconceivable pure karma of a bodhisattva's great vows. Okay, good. Is anybody else hearing the sound go in and out? I'm here, it goes flat and then it echoes. Maybe it's just could be my hearing aids, I don't know. So anyway, I think as long as you can hear it and there's no worries, it's fine. Okay, what's going on here and why this kind of pattern that repeated so many times? Did you notice in the Chinese there were 2 words, 4 words, and then a refrain? Well, start out with the top here. Then, what happened next was the young man Sudana, that's our hero, good wealth. Yixin Zheng Nian, single-mindedly, with a single focus, Zheng Nian, kept in mindfulness, stayed mindful. With a single mind, he stayed thoughtful. He filled his mind with mindfulness, right? Means your mind is full of Bi Zhang Zhe Jiao, what he had just learned from the elder whom we just left. One thing he did. Next thing he did, Guan, to look with your inner eye, to contemplate, Guan Cha, Bi Zhang Zhe Jiao, what he just learned from that teacher. Okay? So, the verb here, the active word, he kept it in mind. He's thinking about what he just learned. And then he's contemplating it, meaning taking a longer look and trying to fit it into his mind. So, stop. What's going on? He has just been filled to the brim by his previous teacher, and he has to digest it. He's got to make it his own. We spent weeks listening to the elder liberation teach him about Buddhas, what Buddhas are like. And now he's on the road again. He's been sent out. Go back to walking, start hiking, right? On the track, walkabout. And what he's doing is he's digesting. So what we have next are 10 descriptions of what a good student, Sudana, is. Because we have inyan, a verb he thought about, the inconceivable, and then whatever it is. 10 times. Look at that. Thought about this inconceivable, thought about this inconceivable, merged with the inconceivable, something, right? So that's our pattern. Do you see it? If you see it visually, you'll understand how the sutra is built. What's so interesting about this sutra is it's called the teaching of totality. Things always come in tens. You get 10 you don't get one, you don't get 3, you get 10 things. And in this case, it's 10 different ways of dealing with information. What a student this young man is, because he processes what he's just been taught 10 different ways. And it says it's inconceivable. Well, that's a problem, because if it's inconceivable, you can't conceive of it. How do you process it? Interesting, right? Let's dig in, let's figure out. And then we find out this is the content. So that's the form. He thinks about, in 10 varieties, inconceivable instruction that he's just been given. Okay? That's how it's built. Now let's get over here and take a look at it. Look at the verbs. He recalled, he pondered, he profoundly processed, he approached, he saw clearly, he completely understood, he distinguished among, he contemplated, he understood, he cultivated, and then he brought forth a resolve finally. There they go. 10 verbs to describe how Sudana's inner computer is. Maybe we shouldn't. Do we want to put a machine in the person? No. His inner, his knowledge gathering apparatus in his mind, right? How he learns. The scholar's word is the epistemology. This is how he knows what he knows. How do you know? And he recalls, he thinks, he remembers, he thinks it over, he holds it in mind, he profoundly, the word is ru. But ru, you don't enter, you do enter a gate, but it's much more like he merged with, he became one with, he integrated, that's our word, he integrated with. Okay, so that's the structure. What are we talking about? The first one, what did he recall, is the Bodhisattva's gate of liberation. That's what his teacher taught him. How the teacher himself got enlightened. He remembers that. Number 2, he ponders. When you ponder, you think about it deeply. What? The wisdom light of a bodhisattva. What I get from that is, I think everybody listening probably hasn't been in a school classroom for a while. There was a time in our lifetime when computers were introduced into school classrooms. It was considered real progress when your school could afford to put a laptop in front of every child. And we saw these newsreels where kids are sitting at some monitor with their fingers on a keyboard. And if your school couldn't afford it, it was considered a backward school sort of thing. Pretty much that has now stopped. Most classroom teachers these days, and a lot of education scholars and researchers, agree that computers can't replace the teacher. That computers can be a tool, but to sit a child in front of a computer and consider that that's a replacement for learning from another human being, an adult, to a child, doesn't work. Why? It's because of the wisdom light of bodhisattvas, which is to say there's something called the hidden curriculum. That's what the teacher gives the student with their eyes, with their body language, with the cadence of their speech, with their breath, with their, we Buddhists talk about chi, the energy field of the teacher. that is as important as the facts themselves. So the content is important. Do you know, can you put your finger on a map and find Argentina? Can you put your finger on a map and find Bosnia-Herzegovina, right? Or the former Yugoslavia? Well, it's there on the map. If you know the facts, if you paid attention in geography class, you can do that. But the teacher showing you how and how they say the names is as important to the students retaining that information as the information itself. So so what you are learning is important, but how you learn it is equally important. The wisdom light of the Bodhisattva is that. It's how to approach Buddhas. What's the point of being able to see Buddhas in the southeastern direction? This elder liberation taught him, right? Okay? So this is the hidden curriculum. He got the instructions how elder liberation got enlightened, but furthermore, he's now his approach to learning. That's the wisdom light of the Bodhisattva. And that's why computers will never replace human teachers in the classroom. He approached. This is, what's the verb? 趋向. Approached is not a good translation. It means, it's sort of like developed a relationship with, 趋入, gradually made it more important. If you think about when was the last time you learned something brand new? I'm a student of guitar, and I'm always also I'm learning the Chinese instrument called the guqin. And what I discover is I am really a slow mechanical learner. Often for the guitar, the thing I'm learning is a new finger picking pattern, and it requires to learn the pattern. Here's an example. So here's a banjo. So if you go, it's called drop thumb. The thumb goes to the second string instead of the fifth string. And then you hit the string and pull off. I can't do it that fast. It breaks down at that point. So that's a dexterity. To learn that took months because I'm not a kid. I'm in my 7th decade. And to create those new neural patterns from brain to finger, to ear, to brain to finger, took way longer than it should have. You see some, 8-year-old picks out the banjo, listens to it, goes ding 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 ding. You go, oh my gosh, there's fewer obstacles in the 8-year-old's wiring than there is in mine. So it's you have to gradually be patient when you fail the first 1,000 times, and then the 1,001st time, hey, I did it. That was a drop thumb. Da da dee da dum. So that's the gradual. You approach, meaning you slowly absorb the inconceivable gate of a bodhisattva's universal entry. Sorry, friends, that means nothing. What is a universal entry of a bodhisattva? That's not translated yet. It has to be translated to make sense. It's 趋向. He gradually absorbed his way. The inconceivable bodhisattva's pu ru man, the bodhisattva's gateway that allowed him. It just did it? Did you hear that? That's funny. I'm hearing this dead spot, and then it picks up again at dead spot. So it's the bodhisattva's ability to transform anywhere. So bodhisattvas have this ability to appear in different forms. It's called the transform bodies or response bodies. It's that. Pu ru man Guanyin Bodhisattva has the Pu Man Pin, the universal gateway. That's it. So he slowly got closer to that inconceivable abilities of bodhisattvas to go anywhere. That's how it should be translated, right? It's not a gateway, what was it? Gateway to universal entry of bodhisattvas. No. Okay, saw clearly, that's the verb. What did he see? Inconceivable spiritual transformations of thus come ones, of Tathagatas. Buddhas can transform their bodies. He saw it. Completely understood, inconceivable entry into Buddha kshetras. This one is incredible. The Avatamsaka talks about how bodhisattvas can travel anywhere in the 10 directions and not leave where they are to begin with. This is one of the qualities of that. Once you take the coverings off your mind through a slow process of meditation and purification of your actions, good karma, you can do this. Anyone can. It's programmed into our nature, but you have to actually do it before it works. Verb, distinguished, funbie, inconceivable adornment by the power of the Buddha. Don't know. Am I allowed to say, don't get it? Don't know. 分别不思议佛力庄严. Mistranslated. Okay. What do we got? Take a look here. Buddha, strength or power, 庄严. This is a word that's often translated as adornments. It can't mean that, because adornments are superficial. They're on the outside, they make it pretty, they decorate it. That's one translation. I'm strongly, lobbying for the translation that means majesty, dignity, sublime quality. It's adornment to me means just like an interior decorator. It's like, it's not big enough for this. It's the majesty, the majestic quality of the Buddha's strength. The majesty of the Buddha's strength. That's the way to translate this. Like Mount Rushmore in America, where you go out and see these presidents carved into stone massively. So the majesty of the Buddha's strength. That's the way to translate it. Okay? Next, he contemplated, he looked with his inner eye, those inconceivable samadhis and liberations, as well as their states and stages. Samadhis and liberations are advanced meditation. If you sit long enough, you get to a place where body, mind, and spirit merge. They lose their boundaries. They get very quiet. My favorite example is the first time I drove a Porsche in my life. I was a young college student. I was in college in Michigan. Somebody needed their Porsche delivered to a small town in Ontario. I was picked to be the designated driver. I'd never driven a sports car, ever. My first thought was, wow, I'm sitting really low. Wow, my legs are really extended out flat. Wow, this clutch is really stiff. The throw of the 4-speed, the gears was just a small throw, with my fingers. And the very first time I shifted from first to second gear and hit the gas, I nearly took it off the road because the response was so fast. And the engine went from boom, like that. This is German engineering. It's an air-cooled rear engine car. The front is very light and the steering is it was both stiff and responsive. It's hard to describe. But driving across the Windsor Bridge into Ontario from Michigan, taking the car to where it was supposed to be, I felt as if myself, the driver, and the car and the mind of the engineer that built it were one thing. And it was like, when I rarely got into fourth gear, because it was, the speed limit and all. But when I shifted correctly and I was going through the gears, there was this, the engine just went, it sang at me. And I thought, wow, this is samadhi for a machine, It just, like a sewing machine that does really well, and So that was, I thought, that must be what samadhi, if you can really enter samadhi, that must be what it's like, driving a Porsche into Ontario on the freeway. So samadhis and liberations, they have names. This is not just any old meditation. The samadhis, like the Avatamsaka, the ocean imprint, Hayin Sanmei, like the Vairochana Samadhi, Vairochana Buddha Samadhi, like the Sharangama Samadhi. These are states of being that integrate body and mind and spirit, soul, that are precise, and they're in our nature, waiting to be booted up, just like programs on your hard drive. Problem is, very few people put the effort in to investigate them, but they're all there, and they're public domain. These are nobody's secret. This is not the possession of anyone. This is all available, just the way books in the library are there waiting to be read, But you have to go step by step to get there, as well as the states and stages, the process that gets you there. 3 more. He understood the ultimate non-obstruction of worlds. Okay, Buddhist code language. It's like people say, parallel universe. We're waiting for science to discover them. Yeah, correct. The Avatamsaka says all these worlds are happening simultaneously everywhere. So, and they don't obstruct each other, but we make our own obstructions. Our senses are limited. I can't see past my hands right now. I can't see my hands until I do that. Oh, there I can see my hands. Now I can't. Limited. Vision is limited. Ears are different. You can hear 360 unless you're sleeping. So our senses are very limited. The worlds around us are not. And after you meditate to a place where your self is no longer the boss, then these worlds suddenly are visible, understandable. It's not that they were suddenly created, it's just that we couldn't see them. So the meditator removes the obstacles in his or her unit so you can perceive these things. The sutra is there to say, here's what's waiting for us to go discover. Get to work. Then, Shushin, cultivated, inconceivable, solid mind of a bodhisattva. Come on. The bodhisattva has a solid mind? That's such a failure of translation, right? Jiangu, durable. Durable is the word, meaning not easily shaken. But a solid mind, rock is solid, mind is anything but, right? Bad choice. Finally, brought forth, inconceivable, pure karma of a bodhisattva's great vows. Okay, here's major issue for Buddhist philosophers to debate, which is karma means deeds and their reaction, deeds and the results. The seeds you plant and the crops that harvest, right? You plant them yourself, you get the harvest yourself. Bodhisattva's vows take them out into other beings' karmic flow. So how do you negotiate individual karma? And sometimes bodhisattvas have to do things that you would think would be harmful. They see the connection and they're willing to take the results, but they act in order to prevent greater harm. So how does it in which court of laws do these work? Lawyers, philosophers, go to work. Okay, tough one, and that's deep, right? And I don't have the wisdom to see it. That's a question for Master Xuanhua. Okay, take a look here. Dum, dum, dum. Not that one, wrong one. We want this one right there. Okay, here's the list. Oops, too big. Trying to make it visible so everybody, and that's too small. Here we go. Kalyana Mitra, that was last week. Pedagogy, Ocean Banner. Here we go. Okay. The bold is the verb. You see the, what did he do? One more time. Sorry, this is boring here. Try again. Maybe if I make it smaller. There we go. Okay. There we are. Okay. He 意念, he 思维, he 深入, and 趋向, and 明见, and 结了, and 分别, and 思维, and 了达, and 修行, and 发起. These 10 verbs to say ways Sudana processed what he just learned from his last teacher. He's walking. He's going down the road to find the next teacher, and he's really busy in his mind as he thinks about the liberation gate of the Bodhisattva and the Bodhisattva's wisdom light and the entry in the ways to enter worlds in all directions, etc. So that's one. The bold are the verbs. The color, I highlighted this phrase that occurs 10 times. 彼不思议, 彼不思议, 彼不思议. Here it is. Each one, right? There it is, there it is, there it is. Inconceivable. We skipped right over that as we were going, didn't we? So what is that? Here's the English. Recalled, contemplated, recalled, pondered, entered, approached, saw clearly, understood, distinguished, contemplated, understood, cultivated, and then brought forth. As a result of all of this thinking, he, in the end, made a vow, great vows. He said, okay, I think I've got it. I've digested it. So now I'm going to act. Here's that phrase we didn't touch. 彼不思议, the inconceivable something something. The traditional way that the Chinese tradition, the Chinese tradition treats inconceivable this way. 不可心思不可言意. 是这个意是不是？是吗？是那个意 Okay. 不可言意. Cannot, the mind can't think of it, and you can't talk about it either. So, 不 cannot, 可 cannot, 心 mind, 思 think, cannot word conceive. Okay? The mind can't think of it, and you also can't discuss it. But that doesn't mean it's not real or not there. It's just that there are realms of reality beyond words and thoughts. Okay? So the tendency is when you run into buka sui, inconceivable, the tendency is to think, oh, therefore it's, I don't have to deal with it, because if you can't talk about it, you can't think about it, it doesn't exist. Wrong. It exists absolutely beyond my eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind's ability to grab it. It's really there beyond my thinking. What is it? 10 things that are really there beyond Sudana's ability to think about it or put it into words. The instructions, the gate of liberation, the wisdom light, the gate to the Dharma realm, how bodhisattvas enter worlds, transformations of the Tathagatas, the Buddha lands, how they get there, the power, the adornment, the majesty of the Buddha's strength, the samadhis, the liberations. He can't talk about them, but they're really real. You can experience them, you can cultivate them, you can live in them, and bodhisattvas do. It's just words fail, but they're there. So I think that's really important to recognize, that the sutra takes us to realms that are huge and vast and pure and majestic. My eyes can't see them, but they're really, really there. And the thing that's keeping me from seeing them is often the overthinking that I do, assuming that I should be able to, like a lawyer, put it down in appropriate phrases with important ing gerunds. We are conceptualizing, we are discussing, we are... No. Stop thinking and it appears everywhere. But of course we can't. So there are realms of reality beyond words and thoughts, and the sutras saying Sudana is going to them, and we can too. There's the tendency of our 21st century world is, if science can't prove it, it doesn't exist, and we don't have to deal with it. That's in learned circles. Other folks just say, what a bunch of hogwash. Sky pilot, airy-fairy, nonsense. Why are you wasting your time, right? Well, because the sutra is not there to cheat us. It's not there to fool us. It's not there to sell books. It's there to say, you want to see the fullness of human experience that's potentially waiting for you? This is called the Dharma realm. The Dharma realm, which is the name of our association in our Gold Coast Dharma realm, is a world where kind-hearted people can travel, can be with incredibly wholesome beings and be of benefit. You can serve people in ways that are inconceivable but necessary. You can put an end to suffering if you know how to travel through the Dharma realm and cultivate these practices. And it's kind of like saying, everybody pretty much loves Disneyland. Walt Disney, this artist and illustrator who caught the whirlwind, and from Mickey Mouse, Disneyland was born, right? So Walt Disney, much beloved entertainer, cartoonist, storyteller, created Disneyland. Disneyland is in Anaheim, California, and it's one of the early theme parks, and it's fun. Disneyland is really fun. It's also very expensive. If you take your kids to Disneyland, you better, make sure your bank account can support it, because it's really expensive. Food there, parking, et cetera, plus the rides and all. But it's fun. Disneyland is fun. It's a childhood imagination done really well, and there are very few hard edges, and there's very little meanness there. So outside Disneyland, the Anaheim is a really dingy corner of LA. You're on the freeway and you're zooming along bumper to bumper through the smog at high speed, and you pull off and you park and you come around the corner, and there's Mickey Mouse, and there's Goofy, and there's Donald Duck, and there's Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and here's Snow White, and here's the Seven Dwarfs, and here's the Jungle Ride, and here's the Wild West Ride. And it's just, suddenly these worlds are there, and if you are the right age, it can be, what do they call it, the happiest place on earth for kids at the right age, and some adults who, I was charmed by the one time I went to Disneyland. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. And You can see why people like it so much. But outside on the freeway, it's just busy traffic, and you got to be alert because you can die instantly on the freeway accident, right? And there's traffic, 24/7 traffic jam, Los Angeles freeways. Get off the freeway, get out of your car, you're in Disneyland. This is a clumsy analogy to say, here we are in this mundane world where there's lots of things that make no sense whatsoever. There's lots of cruelty, there's lots of injustice, there's lots of pain and misery. And yet, through a door in the mind, we can enter these inconceivable realms of the Bodhisattva. The sutra is the map. The sutra says, absolutely there. Here's how you do it. How come you don't do it? What are you waiting for, right? And we have 1,000 answers to that question. Well, because I was too busy. Well, because I had to go to work. Because I was tired. So the sutra is just that. It's a map to the territory of the awakened mind, otherwise known as the Dharma realm. And it doesn't cost a penny to get there. It doesn't cost a penny, not a cent, to get to the Dharma realm. You have to pay something more valuable, which is you have to give it your full attention for a prolonged period of time. And then you can. All right, got that point. So, what happens next? Let's take a look. Sudana arrives. Here we go. 见识难行, everybody. 见识难行, 智言菩提. Oh, sorry, my mistake. 智言菩提畔, 摩离聚落, 周遍瞿密, 海川比丘, 乃见其在精行地侧，结跏趺坐，如与三昧，礼出入席，无别思觉，深安不动。Okay. Coming over, here we go. Hey. Okay, here we go. He gradually traveled south until he came to the village named Milasvarana on the border of Jambudvipa. He looked everywhere for the bhikshu ocean banner. Then he caught sight of that bhikshu seated in full lotus by the side of his walking meditation path. Sudana saw that he had entered samadhi. His inhalations and exhalations had ceased, and he entertained no extraneous thoughts or awareness. His body was calm and unmoving. Okay, here we go. So he meets his new teacher, sort of. He sees his new teacher. Going south, that's the direction of spring. It's the color green. It's where youth encounters knowledge. He comes to a village, and this is, as we continue on into the story, Sudana travels all through what, according to the story, would be India. Sometimes it's a village, sometimes it's a big city, sometimes it's a mountain, sometimes it's a palace, other times it's a jail, other times he's out in the woods with cultivators and ascetics. So it's all of these different habitations and environments that Sudana travels through. It's very picturesque, right? This one is called Milasvarana, which I don't know what that means. And it's on the border of Jambudvipa. So it's really frustrating if you try to map Sudana's travel onto the actual map of India. It doesn't work, Occasionally it does. That's the amazing thing, is every now and then, oh, I recognize that. But more often, it's sacred geography. So Jambudvipa is the name of the southern continent where we are. There are 4 continents in every world. There's the northern continent called Uttarakaru. There's the eastern continent called Purva Videha. There's the western continent called Aparagodaniya. And then there's, I'm testing my translators. Then there's the southern continent called Jambudvipa, Nanjambujo. And each of these continents have their qualities. One of the qualities of the northern continent is there's no Buddha, no Dharma, no Sangha there. Interesting. You don't want to get born in the northern continent of any world. There's no way to cultivate transcendence. So he gets there, looks around. Where's the teacher? Where's Ocean Banner? Oh, there he is. He's sitting in meditation. Specifies he's in full lotus. Interesting. They're not all. Some of them are walking, some are on a cloud in the air, right? Other times. So he's sitting in full lotus by the side of his walking meditation path. I want to come back to that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Sudana saw that the bhikshu had entered samadhi. We're going to get some details about samadhi. It has nothing to do with driving a Porsche, 911. So his inhalations and exhalations had ceased, and he entertained no extraneous thought or awareness. Body was calm and unmoving. Okay, the sutra is showing us, telling us what samadhi is like for this teacher. So, first of all, it specifies that he's not breathing. And that's, for someone who's just approaching this, that could be startling, maybe threatening. Is he dead? No. It's that breathing has changed for this meditator. And Master Hua was very helpful here. Shifu wanted us to get to the dhyanas, for sure. He expected that we should be able to. And there are some among the early disciples who were able to do so. So the dhyanas, Chanding, divide into 4, first, second, third, and fourth. And in the, I never get the numbering right. In the first dhyana, your breathing changes from through the nose to the lungs to the skin pores, horizontal breathing. So your lungs stop functioning in the old way. You don't die. You're still able to transpire, but there's an absorption of necessary oxygen through the skin. Interesting, right? Second dhyana, heartbeat stops, or the other way around. Is the first one the heart? 出禅是心脏停吗？还是呼吸停？心脏第一，出禅是呼吸。Yeah, okay. Number 2 is the heart. So the heart calms down to the point where it stops beating. And people say, oh my, that's definitely he's dead. Not. It's another form of, you could almost say another gear, like cars and gears. It's another realm of physical function that keeps the person is alive, and yet their circulation has transformed. The third dhyana, there's another transformation that happens, which is coarse thoughts stop. The flow of thoughts like waves on the beach stop in the third dhyana. And in the fourth dhyana, subtle thoughts stop. Now, along with these startling medical transformations, doctors, if you run across somebody who's in samadhi, you may think they're dead. They're not. Master Empty Cloud, we're telling his story, every week. He was in Bangkok, Thailand, lecturing on the Da Cheng Qi Xin Lun, a text called The Awakening of Faith in the Mahayana. And while preparing for his lecture, he meditated, he entered samadhi for 9 days. 9 days. And the news electrified Bangkok. Thailand is a Buddhist country, and monks don't publicly enter samadhi that often, so he did. The king came with all his courtiers, and it was a major, major event, still remembered to this day in Bangkok. So, what kind of samadhi did Master Empty Cloud enter or manifest? Don't know. He didn't name it. But externally, he looked as if he were dead. He was not. His body was in a state of focus. Zheng, Ding, Zheng, Shou, they say. Right focus, right adaptability. We say, Ajahn Pasano, our Dharma brother in the Thai forest tradition, is not using the word concentration for ding anymore. Because concentration, when you hear that, you think, ooh, I gotta concentrate. I pull in, so you get tense. He says, no, in samadhi, you have to be absolutely relaxed. You can't have the slightest muscle tension. So focus is a better word for ding. Focus meaning like a lens where you turn it, now it's crystal clear, perfectly clear, razor clear. That's zheng ding. Zheng shou, the traditional description, shou means to receive. So what do you, right reception? What does that mean? I think it means that you are in a state of receptivity, a state of you're focused and you're also alert and able to, your mind is, there's the samadhi, deep meditation states are not wooden, stiff, like a yogi's trance where you can't feel anything. It's not that, it's the opposite. You're totally able to respond. So right responsiveness might be correct. It's like show, you can respond, you can accept, you can take on what you need to meditate. That's samadhi, so it's a complex state, right? But it's not dead by any means. His inhalations and exhalations had ceased. A doctor would come up and hold a mirror under his nose and he wouldn't see any breath on the mirror, right? And no exhalations. But his thoughts weren't moving either, which would indicate that he was either in the third or fourth dhyana or maybe beyond the dhyanas in another samadhi. Body was calm and unmoving. So samadhis are many, many, many. Excuse me. The four dhyanas are only one relatively simple, comparatively simple state of samadhi. There are, to get a full picture of this, go to the 50 skandha demon states chapter of the Avatamsaka, where the bodhisattva's cultivation, the level of their practice, meditators, maybe not bodhisattvas, the meditators' practice is described and how they go wrong. The skandha demon states are mistakes. They're erroneous, wrong roads that a meditator has taken, but the descriptions are almost correct. So for example, there are descriptions when you get to the consciousness skandha. You're up out of 50, you're in 41 to 50, right? The last 10. And the bodhisattva is seeing worlds coming into being and worlds passing away. His or her awareness is vast, vast, vast. But the bodhisattva makes a mistake at some point thinking that, I am probably close to Buddhahood right now. Or maybe this is all I need to do. Or nobody else besides me can see as wide as, my vision is wider than anyone. There's still a self in there making a mistake. So there's potential samadhis gone wrong by just a little bit. And what happens in the 50 skandha demon states is the bodhisattva gets stuck. That the self is still in charge. There's still an ego. There's still a me and a mine. There's something to get. There's something to lose. So it's subtle, really, really subtle. But at this point, look at what this bodhisattva has to do in order to stay alive when you're no longer breathing, you're no longer thinking, and you are calm and unmoving. Oh yeah. How about that? So Sudana is going to learn about samadhi, and next week we're going to discover what this means dynamically, because each encounter with the teacher, he observes, he notices, he inspects, he sees what's going on. Something incredible is happening. We had a monk previously who was walking around in space demonstrating psychic powers, right? The last teacher could see Buddhas inside his body. Amazing, amazing stuff. But after he observes him, then he makes his approach, introduces himself, tells what he's thinking, what he wants. He announces that he is willing to be a student. The teacher says, "Have you made the Bodhi resolve?" "Yes, I have." "Oh, good, I'll take you on. Here's where you sign up. Go over to admissions, you can fill out the forms, and you're my student." Then the teacher explains what he learned and demonstrates, and then he teaches Sudana, and then he says, "But if you really want the big picture, I don't know more than what I've learned. Go south, because there's another teacher down the road. He'll give you the real instruction." Interestingly enough, our next teacher following Ocean Banner is a woman, the first woman out of 21 that we meet. So that's coming up next week. We're just beginning with Ocean Banner, so following will be probably a month or more on this particular encounter. But after that comes Upasaka Asha, who is a woman. So coming up. All right. I thought we might enjoy the scene. How much time? We got time? Sam, how are we doing for questions? Are there any? Okay. So let's go there. I was going to share a song about somebody else who entered samadhi. Maybe we'll do that quickly and then get there. So this is yesterday's lecture. Sunita, the Buddha's last disciple who attained arhatship. This is an autobiographical poem, one of the oldest strands of poetic literature available to humans. The Buddha's own disciples, 2,500 years ago, some of them wrote poems about their experience. I'm going to narrate it as I go. I was born poor in a lowly family. Father disappeared, there was little to eat. My work was degrading, I gathered withered flowers from the shrines, sold what I could, threw the rest away. There's that drop thumb. So who is he? He is an untouchable. Sunita was that fourth caste called scavengers. And look, he didn't even know his father. He had a dysfunctional childhood. There was nothing to eat. He was starving. He was poor. The only thing he could do to keep himself alive was to go to where there were pujas in the marketplace in India, and people usually don't pick up their garbage. They wait for someone else to do it. So he would go and pick up the withered flowers, the leftover food, eat what he could eat, sell what he could sell, and then be a garbage man. So Sunita was a garbage man, a scavenger. People found me disgusting, and they despised me. They just ignored me, or they looked away, the way we react to homeless people on the street, right? The pain of rejection hurt as much as the hunger, but I lowered my heart and I bowed every day. Okay, he tells the truth about being homeless or being a reject, an outcast. People hurt you by rejecting you, by ignoring you, by looking away, by treating you as less than human. It hurts to be rejected. It hurt as much as being hungry. But what did he do? Sunita had a practice. He had a Dharma practice, which was being patient under insult and bowing. He bowed. He lowered himself in ritual prostrations every day, and he just took on the abuse or the being spat upon. Then a major turning point in his story, the Buddha walks into town. Then I saw the great hero entering the city, the greatly awakened one, with his monks in line, 1,250 of them. The most supreme of the Magadhans, walking like a lotus, pure and refined. Here comes the Buddha. I lost all fear. I set down my pole and baskets. I drew near and I wanted to bow. And then he, the conqueror of Mara, stopped the line. He stood still out of kindness just for me. Okay, he's got his scavenger baskets, his garbage man baskets and pole, and he set them down because he saw the Buddha, and he went close to the Buddha and indicated that he wanted to offer bows. This, in a different situation, would be cause to be kicked, beaten, or killed. There is no lawyer for an untouchable who commits the offense of bowing to a kshatriya, right? But what does the Buddha do? He doesn't stand on caste. The Buddha doesn't obey caste. He, who had defeated the king of the demons, stops 1,250 monks, stands still and says, "Sure, I'll accept your bows," out of kindness. After showing reverence at the feet of the teacher, I stood to one side and I said these words: "O great sage, supreme among all beings, may I take refuge and leave home with you." The compassionate teacher raised one hand in a blessing, the sound of kindness for all the world. He said, "Come, monk." That was my ordination. I crossed over and my new life began. So he bows to the Buddha, and then, on inspiration, Sunita does, this guy's got courage. He says, "Supreme One, can I become your disciple? Will you take me as a monk?" The compassionate teacher raises his hand, says, "Ehi bhikkhu," come monk. That's it. His hair fell out, his robe clothed his body, and he became a member of the Sangha. Okay, drama. The scene changes. Now I live alone here in the mountains. I never tire as I cultivate the way, following my teacher's words just as he taught me, with one mind by night and by day Sudana's cultivating in the mountains. As the sun went down, I entered samadhi. Pay attention. I saw my past lives and I got my heavenly eye. Just before dawn, I broke through the mass of darkness to the state of the deathless. I did certify. Guess what? Sudana, or Sunita, that is, his conditions came ripe. He entered samadhi. His psychic powers arose as he sought the 5 eyes and the 6 heavenly, the six psychic abilities. Then, just before dawn, got enlightened, broke through the mass of darkness, and realized the state of the deathless. Then something very surprising happens. Oh, the night was ending, and the sun was returning. Indra and Brahma paid their respects to me, the chief among gods, with their palms together, shining light, the way gods do with eloquence. They said these words to me: homage to you, thoroughbred of humans, the irony. Homage to you, human supreme. Your afflictions have ended, all your suffering is over. You, dear sir, are worthy of offering. The chief among gods, Indra and Brahma, come down, put their palms together, and praise the former untouchable. Call him a thoroughbred of humans, a human supreme. They say, yep, you've done it. You've realized our hot ship. You are Yinggong, you are worthy of offerings. Okay, and this wonderful concluding verse. Upon seeing me, venerated by the Devas, the teacher smiled and he proclaimed, through austerity, celibacy, restraint, and self-control, he became a Brahmin. He is a Brahman supreme. The irony here, he became, is the Buddha poking fun at Brahmins, the chief of the castes, the Hindu sacred, the priest caste? Maybe, maybe not. But he's saying, you want to be a real Brahmin? Then what you want to do is cultivate the way, and you can be a Brahman supreme. You can end birth and death entirely. How about that? That's a true 2,500-year-old poem, the oldest layer of religious poetry that we know, and it's the story of the Buddha's final arhat. All right. And the story of samadhi as well. How about that? Okay, 5 precepts laywoman. If she is allowed to read the 10 novice precepts. Okay, depends on who you talk to. There are some monks and nuns who say, oh, don't let anybody read the precepts, because they will have false thinking. They'll look down on the Sangha for making all the stupid mistakes that led to the setting up of the precepts. Yeah, I don't know. I think if you want to, how do you go from lay woman to Shramanarika, to novice nun? Let them know what the path ahead is. I think there's no harm. To my mind, there's no harm to let a laywoman who is not a novice nun read the training rules for novice nuns. Besides, if you say no, she can get it online anytime. ChatGPT will happily give you the Bhikshu and Bhikshuni precepts because they're out there, they're available. You can say, what I would do is give her what she wants to read, she's curious, and then ask her what she thought. Ask her response to them. And open up a dialogue. Don't be afraid that somehow reading them is going to hurt someone's mind. It's the opposite. Telling somebody who's curious that they can't read them, that's a good way to turn them off to the Dharma. They'll wonder why not, right? So engage, give them to her, and then have a conversation about them. As my body becomes weaker, it's increasingly difficult to maintain sitting posture for long. When I relax or massage my body, the previous state of tranquility is lost. It takes much effort and time to regain it. Is this an obstacle in cultivation? How should I work to overcome? Okay, it does take strength to meditate. If you really like to meditate, I would progressively strengthen your body. Do some exercises. Find out how long can you sit now to the limit. Is it 10 minutes? Is it 15 minutes? And then say, okay, this is now October 25th, 26th. By Christmas, by Guonian, by the New Year's, which is the end of January, I'm going to add 5 minutes. And then say, by next spring, I'm going to add 10 minutes and work on it. The body is remarkably resilient. It's not the case that if your body's weak, that's it, that's the end. You can gradually strengthen it through exercises, through patience, mind over matter. So my answer is weakness depends on you entirely. If you want to meditate longer, work on it. You can. I've never known anyone to fail who wanted to increase their meditation time and gave themselves a steady, daily practice, going to the limit and then going beyond it by a minute. Try that. I think you will likely succeed. Amitabha, gender imbalance in mainland China, 300 million men unable to find wives. As a result, many women engage in marriage scams, deceiving men into paying exorbitant bride prices. I feel like our family may have encountered such a scammer. If I suspect she's a fraud, should I hire a private investigator to look into it? Is this perhaps the karmic consequence of my father's stinginess? He never spends even a cent on doing good deeds. Okay, this is from Anhui. I wasn't aware of this scam. I know that whenever humans have tried to outsmart nature, usually it backfires. One example of that is the single child policy of China, which is now no longer being practiced. So the situation in China was there were more people than the land could provide food for. And one of the solutions was to limit the number of children. It wasn't that we want boys only, it was that we have too many bodies on this continent to try to feed. Now, one answer, it was a drastic, that was a risky, dangerous decision to say one child only. If the child is a daughter, that's it. If the child is a son, that's it. Well, I know in parts of China, Taiwan, I was familiar with, one of the solutions, if you had a daughter, was drown the daughter, kill her, right? Can't feed them. So aim for a son. Sons you can put to work when they grow up. If you have a daughter, you have to give her away. She's a drain on the family's finances, and she's another mouth to eat. So, problems, right? What is it? Very human responses. China is not the only culture that has tried experiments with eugenics, with population planning. Currently, that limitation is gone in China. In fact, in China now, there are not enough children. People are afraid that in the future, everyone will be old and there will be no one there to take care of the elders. So China has switched now. They're encouraging families to have more children. In the meanwhile, what I'm reading here about the imbalance, 30 million men unable to find wives because female children were not welcome, well, what you going to do? That's a problem, isn't it? It's the idea of humans thinking we can outwit nature, nature's natural balance, almost always backfires. So what do? I wasn't aware of women trying to scam bride prices. A bride price, that's a cultural hangover called a dowry. When I grew up, dowries were no longer in fashion. The idea that to marry, I don't even know how they work, that the man's family has to give money to buy the bride. So my answer to the question is, this is a genuine, difficult situation. Not enough wives, not enough women. So to try to go from here and say, is this a result of past karma? That can only be speculation, unless you have the Su Ming Tong, the knowledge of past lives. It's very difficult to say for sure. So is your dad, can you encourage your dad to not be stingy, to do more good deeds? That's worthy of a good Buddhist child. Show your dad how 助人是快乐之本. 助人是快乐之本. Helping others is the foundation of joy. When you help others, you get happy. If your life is not happy, help others. Don't only help yourself, right? So that's a lesson you can find a way to teach. Find a way to teach your father that letting go a little bit, not being so tight. Maybe if you can find ways to give him that lesson, that's really being a good filial child. So what to do to rebalance some government policy that created the situation? I don't have any wisdom. It's difficult. Can you find countries with an imbalance, too many women, not enough men, and maybe send the women over? Invite them to come and find a wholesome way to match them up. I think it has to go through a few more generations before nature rebalances the situation. What's the relationship between the first, second, third, and fourth dhyanas and the 10 grounds of the bodhisattva? When a bodhisattva first arouses the aspiration for enlightenment, to what level of dhyana must they attain in their meditative practice? Gratefully seeking compassionate guidance from Jillian. Okay, my understanding, coming from our teacher, is that you can map progress along the bodhisattva path. Only, what do they say, a second stage bodhisattva does not know the state of the third stage bodhisattva. The third stage bodhisattva does not know the state of the fourth stage bodhisattva. So to be able to say, oh yes, looking at the 10 stages of the bodhisattva, here is one on the first dhyana, second dhyana, third dhyana. You can't do that unless you are truly at the level above looking down. So I won't pretend to tell you that I can see those things. That would be wrong for me to assume that I have that kind of vision. I don't. I can pass on the understanding, as Shifu did, that anyone can attain the dhyanas. So I would suggest, instead of being a lawyer like this and trying to plot out who is who, how do they correlate, cross-correlate, instead, really work on calming your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, so that instead of seeking highs and running from lows, instead put your day on a path that looks more like this. So things look more pingdang, things look more level. Joy is not overwhelming joy. Sorrow is not unspeakable sorrow. Find a way to calm your everyday experiences. Food can taste really good without hot sauce, right? Parties can be really fun without alcohol. Remove those externals, and bit by bit, you will be able to approach the dhyanas. To be able to approach that first dhyana, Li Shang Shi Le Di, the stage of happiness beyond what living beings understand, you have to really make everything pretty much the same, so that when you meditate, your six senses very easily, very smoothly return to their source. 回光, right? 反闻闻自性. That's how you can approach. That way, you yourself can answer this question, and you won't have to ask outside whether the first stage is, whether the first stage correlates to the first or the fourth dhyana. Shifu said that the Buddha entered Buddhahood in the third dhyana, from the third dhyana, which I thought was fascinating. I don't know if we can track that statement down. But it was on the night of the Buddha's enlightenment. He was not an arhat. He didn't become a Buddha from arhat. He came from the dhyanas. So they're very powerful. We'll do one more here. I would like to ask the Master, if I wish to inspire other sentient beings with some principles of the Dharma, but feel that my own ability is insufficient, is it still appropriate to try? Could doing so help counteract arrogance or condescension? Would this be in accordance with the Dharma? Of course, yes. If you want to inspire others with principles of the Dharma, you know the best way to do it? 以身作则. The best way to do it is wordlessly. Show, don't tell. That's the best. So in your workplace, if you have colleagues or fellow counterparts in your job, or in your school, or in your family, family is the hardest one to inspire because they know you at your most ordinary. So in your workplace, if things used to push your button, situations used to get you angry and you couldn't, you would always raise your voice to make your points. If you can, because of your practice, because of your genuine cultivation, change that habit, you get rid of those things that used to send you into orbit, used to make you so angry. If you can refuse to get angry when the situation arises, wordlessly, people will go, oh, something's different about him, her. Maybe it's because they're going to that meditation group. Maybe it's because they've removed the meat from their diet. If you can eat vegetarian out of principle and be happy and be strong and radiant, people get the message and you don't want to say anything. But when you go out on a group, you go out at night to celebrate a promotion or a wedding or something, you pass on the alcohol, you drink 汽水 instead, or 果汁 instead of alcohol, and you pass on the meat, they will go, what's different about them? And then somebody will say, oh, well, they've been going to that Buddhist place. Huh, that's interesting. I didn't know they could change, right? So wordlessly is the way, 以身作则, right? Teach by example. 现身说法比你讲的法好多了. Right? Often if you try to teach in words, people don't want to hear it. They've got a million responses and arguments. Just show them that you have changed through your cultivation, and your ability will be sufficient, and it will be appropriate. You don't even have to try, you just shine with the quality of your kindness. That's the way to do it. Okay, our time is up. We'll continue. Thank you for the questions. We'll be back with more next week. Sudana is going to start learning about samadhi from his teacher. And stick around because the teacher that follows is our first female teacher. That's going to be very cool. All right? Can we dedicate merit? Send out good wishes for people and places that could use some energy. We'll do Medicine Buddha's mantra to heal all the illness in the world. Here we go. Om Ajurya Prabharajaya Tathagacaya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Ayata Saji 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 Sagate Swaha Bhagavate Saja Ajurya Prabharajaya Tathagacaya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Ayata Saji Saji Samugate one more time. Om Namo Bhagavate Sajaguru Ajurya Prabharajaya Tathagacaya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Ayata Saji 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 Samugate Swaha. There you go.
There you go.
All right, we're going to bow to Guanyin Pusa at the end here. You're welcome to join me if you care to. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. That's going to do it for us for today. We'll see you all next week. Amitofo, everybody. Thanks for joining.